Picture the last great stones being set on the Great Pyramid of Giza, the pharaohs, written language, cities, the dawn of recorded history. Now picture, at that exact same moment, thousands of kilometers north, a small population of woolly mammoths, still breathing on a frozen Arctic island. Not fossils, not legends, living animals. At the same time as the pharaohs, we're taught that the Ice Age monsters died in some distant, unreachable past, long before humans mattered. They didn't. Some of them survived into human history, hunted with spears and stone, painted on cave walls, even written about, a lot more recently than you have ever been told. These are 6 of them, and number 1 was alive while the pyramids were rising. Here's the idea that reframes everything. Extinction was never a single event, one ancient day when the giants all vanished at once. It was a slow-moving tide, rolling across the world island by island, continent by continent, and almost everywhere it went, it arrived at the same time as one thing: us, humans, with better weapons and a growing appetite. Over the next 10 minutes, we're counting down 6 Ice Age giants that survived far closer to recorded human history than you've ever been told. From a giant our ancestors may have worshipped, to an animal that survived into the 17th century. And we're not ranking them by how recently they disappeared. We're ranking them by how badly they mess with our idea of the past. Stay to the end, because the age of giants didn't end in the deep past. In some places, it ended almost yesterday. When we picture prehistoric extinction, we imagine climate, ice melting, worlds ending on their own. And climate mattered, but so did we. In case after case, the fossil record shows the same fingerprints, cut marks on bones, stone tools beside the carcasses, and a wave of disappearances that follows humans wherever they spread. The giants didn't just die, many of them were hunted. Number 6. Number 6 may be an animal our ancestors both feared and revered. The cave bear was a massive Ice Age bear of Europe and Asia, some large males approaching half a ton, that sheltered and hibernated in the very same caves early humans wanted for themselves. That put us in direct competition, and there's clear evidence we hunted them. Cave bear bones turn up with cut marks from stone tools, signs of animals butchered for meat and hide. Humans hunted them. Whether that hunting was enough to drive them extinct is a much harder question. And in some caves, their skulls were found arranged in ways that led some researchers to suspect ritual, a possible cave bear cult, though that idea is debated and far from proven. What isn't debated is the timing. The cave bear held on until around 24,000 years ago, sharing the landscape with modern humans for tens of thousands of years before it vanished. It wasn't a creature from before our time. It was a rival we lived beside, and, at least sometimes, killed. And the next animal, we didn't just hunt. We painted it on the wall first. Number 5 is an animal we know our ancestors watched closely, because they left portraits of it. The woolly rhinoceros roamed Ice Age Europe and Asia, a 2-ton, cold-adapted tank with a horn up to a meter long, covered in thick fur against the cold. In the Chauvet Cave in France, among the oldest art on Earth, early humans drew woolly rhinos in detail. The horn, the hump, the heavy body. The paintings show that woolly rhinos were part of the world these people knew intimately, a creature they watched, tracked, and at times hunted. The woolly rhino survived until roughly 10 to 14,000 years ago, and its disappearance is a genuine argument among scientists. A mix of a warming climate, shrinking its habitat, and human hunting pressure, finishing the job. Either way, our ancestors knew this animal alive, close enough to capture it on stone, and the next giant on the list left something even more direct behind: its own skin and the marks of the people who ate it. Number 4 is a giant that humans in South America hunted right down to the end. Mylodon was a ground sloth the size of an ox, part of a family that included creatures far larger, heavy, clawed, shaggy plant eaters. that had ruled the Americas for millions of years. In a cave in Patagonia, explorers found something astonishing: pieces of Mylodon's skin and dung, so well preserved they looked almost fresh, complete with the small bony nodules embedded in the hide like natural armor. And across South America, some ground sloth remains show evidence of human butchery: stone tools and cut marks on the bones, suggesting that people hunted at least some of these giants. The first people to reach the continent didn't just live near them. At least some of the time, they hunted them. Mylodon and its relatives held on until around 10,000 years ago, disappearing as human hunters spread across the Americas. A giant that had survived for millions of years met people, and within a geological blink, it was gone. And the next animal is the clearest case on this entire list, because we can date its extinction almost to the decade. Number 3 shows exactly how fast a giant can fall once humans arrive. On the islands of New Zealand lived the moa, 9 species of flightless bird, the largest standing close to 12 feet tall with its neck raised, taller than the giant sloths we just covered. For millions of years, the moa had no ground predators and no fear of anything walking on 2 legs. That made them catastrophically easy to hunt. Polynesian settlers reached New Zealand around the year 1280, and researchers, dating the archaeological and radiocarbon evidence, found that all 9 species of moa were gone within roughly a single century of human arrival. Read that again. Not 10,000 years, not 4,000, 100. An entire family of giant birds, present for millions of years, hunted to extinction in less time than it takes a language to drift into a new dialect, closer to the age of Christopher Columbus than to the last ice age. It's the fastest, clearest example of what we do when we meet a giant with no fear of us. But number 2 survived far, far longer, into an age of books and kings. Number 2 isn't a creature of the deep ice age at all. It walked straight into recorded history. The aurochs was the giant wild ancestor of modern cattle, a bull, standing nearly 6 feet at the shoulder, far larger and more powerful than any cow alive today, with long, forward-curving horns. It's the animal painted charging across the walls of Lascaux. Humans hunted the aurochs for tens of thousands of years. But here's what makes it extraordinary. It didn't vanish in prehistory. It survived into the Middle Ages and beyond, hunted by kings as royal game across a shrinking stretch of European forest. As hunting and habitat loss closed in, the last herds retreated to Poland, and the very last aurochs on Earth, the final individual of a species older than our civilization, died in a forest at Jaktorów, in Poland, in the year 1627. 1627. There were printing presses. There were telescopes. Shakespeare had been dead for 11 years. And somewhere in a Polish forest, the last of an Ice Age giant quietly died. We didn't just hunt this monster in prehistory. We hunted it until the 1600s. And yet, for pure disbelief, number 1 still beats it. Because number 1 is a genuine Ice Age monster that was alive when the pyramids were built. Number 1 is the animal we began with, and the most unbelievable timeline on this list. We're taught woolly mammoths vanished at the end of the Ice Age, around 10,000 years ago. Most of them did, but not all. Around 10,000 years ago, rising seas cut off a small population of mammoths on Wrangel Island, in the Arctic Ocean north of Siberia. Isolated on the island, with no predators and limited food, the population evolved into a smaller-bodied form, and somehow held on, and on. Radiocarbon dating of their remains gives a date that stunned scientists when they confirmed it. This last population survived until roughly 4,000 years ago. Line that up against human history, and it stops making sense. 4,000 years ago, the Great Pyramid of Giza had already been standing for centuries. Writing existed. Sumerian scribes were pressing symbols into clay. And while all of that unfolded, real woolly mammoths, the very poster animal of the Ice Age, were still walking a frozen island, breathing, breeding, alive. The mammoth didn't belong only to a lost prehistoric world. For its final chapter, it shared the planet with us, with our cities, and with our written history. It's the closest the Age of Monsters ever came to touching our own. Put the six together, and the comforting story falls apart. The Ice Age monsters weren't erased in some distant, untouchable past. A bear we may have worshipped, a rhino we painted, a sloth we hunted, a bird we wiped out in a century, a wild bull that lasted into the 1600s, and a mammoth that outlived the builders of the pyramids. The Age of Giants didn't end long before us. In case after case, humans were part of the story, sometimes as hunters, sometimes as competitors, and sometimes alongside a changing climate that was already reshaping the world. The Age of Giants didn't end in one dramatic moment, and it didn't end when the Ice Age ended. It faded piece by piece, sometimes within sight of human history. We didn't miss the monsters by millions of years. We missed some of them by almost nothing at all. This is Frozen Giants, and here's the strangest part. That mammoth that outlived the pyramids, it's now the animal scientists are racing to bring back. That full story is on your screen right now. I'll see you in the ice.